Hello, old school comic reviews. Today we want to try something a little bit different. This is going to be random comic book number ones. These comics aren't particularly valuable, aren't particularly rare, aren't particularly important, not even sentimental or anything, but just a random selection of just kind of obscure number one comics, just cause just thought it might be fun to look at weird, obscure comics for a minute. Okay, so first we're gonna look at. Hope you can see this. Howard the Duck number one magazine size, black and white magazine from 1979. Basically, the original Howard the Duck series went for roughly 31, 32 issues, something like that. And then they started up this format. This format only lasted, 8, 9 issues or so. It's in black and white. Oh, there we go. It's in black and white. I think it's kind of interesting. Maybe they just thought they were able to do a little bit more satirical. Maybe they weren't, felt maybe they can get more done by getting away from the comic book code authority. The two stories are written by Bill Matlow, and they're okay. They're not great. The art in the first one is by uh, Mike Golden and Klaus Janson, and the art in the second one, which I like a little bit more, is Gene Colan. The only problem with the art in the first story is just basically that Klaus Janson is such a powerful inker, and he has such a thick, heavy line that he kind of sometimes overpowers the pencilers that he works with. And like here, you can barely tell that it's Michael Golden's art. The first story has something to do with Howard and Beverly going back to trying to get back to Cleveland, and they run into a guy who's got like a chicken farm or something, and there's some hijinks and whatever. And the second story is them getting back to Cleveland and Howard getting a job as a taxi driver, and more hijinks ensue. He fights a guy. What is it? Jackpot, the one-armed bandit. And there's some silliness going on, and blah 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 blah. No great shakes as a story. Kind of interesting. Kind of interesting one-off. And that's it. Now I do believe it was probably in the second or third issue of this series where Howard got pants. As you can see here, this is classic Howard with no pants. He looks pretty much like a slightly grittier or grungier cartoon duck. But in the second issue, he started wearing pants, and I think what happened was the Disney Corporation actually threatened Marvel Comics with a lawsuit saying that Howard was too similar to Donald Duck. So as a compromise, Marvel said that they would make the character look a little bit more different, and so hence the pants. I think it's pretty interesting that, of course, since then, 30 years later, DC, now owns Marvel, and the character's been redesigned yet again. Me personally, I'm not 100% happy with the redesign, but we'll see what the future holds, brings, I should say. Okay, next comic, Tomb of Terror. Hope you can see this okay. This is from Marvel from last year, 2010. Basically, you got a story here with Man-Thing, Werewolf by Night, and Son of Satan. This is just one of those things I think I was complaining about in another video. It's like, I walked in the store, I'm just wandering around or whatever, and I just happened to see it on the racks, and it's just like, jeepers, Marvel, why don't you hype this stuff? There are people who do like these different type of characters or whatever. You get, oh, it's also, let's see here, it's also in black and white, which is pretty interesting because that's not something they do a whole lot of these days. The first story has art by Mark Tizedra. I think that's how you say his name. Oh, let me point this out because I think it cracks me up. Check out Man Thing. Okay, he's a swamp monster here, but check him out. He's got abs. He's got pecs. Come on. Man Thing's been working out. He's been pumping iron and stuff, you know? And I think this is interesting because it's like classic Man Thing. This is what Man Thing usually looks like, you know? Oh, hey, another number one. You know, see, he's made out of roots and bark and tree and muck and mud and stuff, you know. He's a giant muck monster, you know. But here, he's got muscle tone, you know. I don't think it's bad art. It's not a bad drawing or anything like that. But I just think it's funny that the artist chose to draw him like that. Any other play I've ever seen Man Thing, he's always looked like, you know, a scary, creepy, you know, inhuman monster, you know, made of, like I said, roots and twigs and things like that. But here, you know, he looks like he's been pumping iron. He's been taking steroids or something like that. Other than that, the art's pretty good. Story is kind of so-so, you know. I really like the, let's see here. Here's some more art from Man Thing story. I really do like the Son of Satan story here. I like the art here. I like the story. Let's go back this way. Let me see here. The story. Oh, the story for the Man Thing. The writer for the Man Thing story is Paul Hornschmeyer. Schmeier, I think. Mark Teixeira did the art. The writer for the Son of Satan story is Rob Williams, and the art's by Pablo Pepino. And he kind of has this sort of almost kind of like a Hellblazer type feel to it, where, you know, there's something supernatural going on, but at the same time, the scary parts are really have to do with, like, you know, human behavior and why people do the messed up things that they do. So I thought that was a really good story. It's not the last story, but the next story is Werewolf by Night: The Cure by Joe Pruitt and art by Jordan Raskin. I thought the story was okay, but I really didn't dig the art that much. It's just really confusing and kind of hard to tell what's going on, especially when, like, the two werewolves, like, start fighting. It's like, what? I mean, it's just hard to make out, like, you know, what's going on in this page here, you know? What's going on in this page? You tell me. It's just really confusing to me. And there's also a text page featuring the Living Mummy, but I didn't read that one. Oh, and the credits for the Werewolf by... No, I said the credits for the Werewolf by Night. Joe Pruitt and Jordan Raskin. Alright. Next. Oh. Cyborg. Or actually... Tales of the Teen Titans featuring Cyborg. This is number 1 from 1981? 1982, okay. Story and art by Miles Wolfman and George Perez. This story is actually a lot of fun. It's really interesting. Basically, this is like right when the Teen Titans had pretty much, you know, taken the world by storm or whatever. These were like, it was like an instant hit. It was like DC Comics, like best-selling comic at the time. And it's basically the backstory to, well, that's a nice little ad there, but it's a backstory to Vic Stone and everything that happened to him and whatnot. Basically, the framing device is the Teen Titans are all having a picnic, and then everybody's just telling stories about their lives and things like that. What's really interesting about this story is This is one issue. Well, just to finish my thought here, miniseries 1 of 4. So, whoa, what happened here? Oh, there we go. Uh, this is the first issue. The second issue was Raven. The next issue was Changeling, who most people know as Beast Boy these days, and the fourth issue was Starfire. And but yeah, but they were pretty good. And what I was gonna say here is this is like one issue, one story, but they easily could have gotten like a 3 issue series out of just the Cyborg story alone. It's just so packed with like backstory and background and plot, and there's a character arc, and you get to see Vic when he's a boy, you get to see him as a teenager, you can see him as a young man, you can see him before the accident, after the accident. There's a whole thing with his childhood friend, who his little street running buddy, and then him getting into gangs, and him getting out of the gangs, and then his girlfriend, and his girlfriend leaves him, and there's a fight, and all this kind of stuff. You know, there's the accident, there's how he has a falling out with his dad, and it's like I said, there are these little montages. You know, if they expanded these montages, you could have easily gotten a few good scenes and things out of that alone. You know, here's Vic with his '70s afro getting into a street fight. You know, and oh, let's see here. This is Ron. This is Ron. Ron is the bad guy here. You know, he's the real bad guy. But oh my, wait a minute here. Oh my God, what happened to me? But it's really fun. Oh, another interesting thing is you pick up a modern comic book. I'd say on the average page you might get 4 to 5 panels. You look at this stuff by George Perez. Each page averages like, it's literally twice. Averages 8 to 10 panels. You know, they really cram a lot into this particular comic. It's not bad, you know, it's not a great comic. Like I said, this is like one of the few comics that I think would actually be improved if they, you know, kind of let it breathe a little bit. But, no, what's happening here? But it was good, it was good. What's going on here? What's going on here? I, I hate technology. Anyway, just to wrap up, Tales of the Teen Titans featuring Cyborg, 1981. You know, if you can find it, you know, check it out. It's really fun. Okay, the next comic I want to look at is the Umbrella Academy, written by Gerald Way, who's a singer for a rock band called My Chemical Romance, and Gabriel Ba, artist on Day Tripper. Basically, this is from 2010. It's a reprint of the first issue of the Umbrella Academy. The original #1, I think, came around 2007. It's Umbrella Academy is a comic book that I'd always heard of and kind of seen. I was always aware of, but I'd never, you know, just picked it up. You know, I flipped through it a few times. It came close, but finally, you know, with the Dark Horse reissue, $1 or whatever, I finally picked it up, and I'm kind of glad I did. Basically, the story is this issue is basically set up. The story is it starts off in the past, and an old man kind of finds these weird kids or kids with special powers or gifts or whatever, and he decides he's going to you know, adopt them and raise them. And it's kind of suggested that they, you know, as children, you know, go off and have all kinds of crazy superhero-y type adventures and things like that. But eventually they kind of grow up and, you know, move away and do their own thing. And what happens is we get back to the present, and something has happened to the old man, and so they have to, as adults, they have to come together and figure out what's going on. And that's pretty much where it leaves off. You know, we have to figure out, you know, what happened and if everybody's going to get together and, you know, do what they have to do. So that's basically it. It's just like I said, just basically set up. It's pretty intriguing, you know. I'm kind of interested now. I might, try to track down some of the other issues, or I might just break down and get some of the trades or whatever. If anybody who's ever read Umbrella Academy, please tell me what you think, because it looks pretty intriguing to me. I probably just, like I said, I might just go ahead and get some of the trades or whatever. But it's pretty fun. I read somewhere that Gerald Way said that he was trying to do an offbeat comic, kind of like the Doom Patrol or whatever, and that's pretty much what it feels like. It feels like 60s X-Men meets 90s Doom Patrol. So that's pretty fun comic book. Okay, next we have Dakota North Investigations from 1986. Basically, kind of an action adventure thing. Most people probably know Dakota North now from guest starring in the most recent Daredevil comics, but she did have her own series back in the late 80s. Wasn't really a big hit. I think it lasted maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 issues or so. Pretty much trying to capture the zeitgeist of, action movies at that time, and, just trying to be, part of what was hip, of what was going on. It reminds me of kind of like action movies, and it's actually pretty kind of sub Miami Vice-ish, where everybody's slick and hip and everything like that, witty one-liners and blah blah blah. It takes kind of like a tongue-in-cheek, kind of a lighthearted tone, but at the same time, like I said, lots of action, lots of fashion, lots of exotic settings and things like that. Basically, this issue here. Let's see here. The young man with the sunglasses is supposed to be Dakota's younger brother, and this old guy here is supposed to be her dad, And he's like, "Get lost before I change your channel, punk." And he's, pointing his big gun at a guy who's trying to steal his boombox here, just very, 80s tough guy type stuff. But basically, this issue has Dakota. She is hired to guard a fashion designer or whatever. Oh, where we want to go here. To guard a fashion designer, and like I said, they go to all sorts of exotic locations. There's some bad guys in a big corporate office, and everybody's, like I said, slick and hip and everything. This dude here is like a cop that seems to be like crushing on Dakota. It looks like it was set up. Maybe they would have a romance later on if the series continued. Who knows? You know. So it's kind of a fun comic. Nothing earth-shaking or anything like that. Motorcycles inside. Hey, Spider-Man fans, check it out. Hobgoblin, huh? Big shootouts and things, crazy stuff happening. So it's a fun comic or whatever. Here's the house ad that ran in every comic that month. Style. Check out her kind of, Dynasty Joan Collins shoulder pads here, huh? That was hip back in the day. Hey guys, remember when we all used to dress like this? And we thought we were cool, huh? Yeah, you do. Alright, so pretty fun comic. Here. I don't know if you can tell on here, it says Dakota North Investigations, New York, Paris, Rome, Tokyo. So probably the way it would have gone if it kept going, you get to go all over the world as she, takes on different cases and things like that. But like I said, the comic only lasted like 5-6 issues or so, and characters made sporadic guest appearances throughout the Marvel universe over the years. But that's this here. Okay, not a terrible comic. It's okay. It might be fun if they actually brought this character back for her own series. Maybe. And speaking of hip and rock and roll and everything, I got a baby's brain and an old man's heart. Alice Cooper, The Last Temptation. This is from 1995. And look at this cover. You know, if you didn't know better, you'd swear this was like a Vertical comic that was released during that time, but it's actually a Marvel comic. Up here it says Marvel Music. Here's the back issue, or back cover. Last Temptation. All right. Basically, I guess this was a tie-in to an album that Alice had coming out right around that time, and this is okay. It's written by let's see here if I got that in there. Neil Gaiman and Michael Zulli. Zulli? Probably Zulli. That sounds right. And it's okay. It's not great, you know. Basically, the story has something to do with these kids hanging out and they're doing whatever, and a strange old man comes up, and the old guy kind of looks like, I don't think he's ever given a name, but kind of looks a little bit like Vincent Fuller, right? And he's like, oh yes, come with me. Well, I will teach you, you know, the great lessons. Come with me into the spooky old theater. Ah. And basically, you know, there's like a show that seems to be being put on, and he's telling all things about there's ghosts and there's spirits and kind of morality plays going on. And here's a double page spread of the spooky old theater. And you know, there's morality plays and there's life lessons to be learned. And oh, look here, here's some ghouly looking people here. Check it out. I'm scary and mysterious. Ah. And you know, it's okay. It's not a bad comic book at all. It's kind of interesting, but I don't know if it's really something I would say is a must-have. It's good enough. I really like the art. It kind of reminds me, Michael Zulli's art here kind of reminds me of Barry Windsor Smith in a way. But yeah, I'm not really compelled tonight necessarily. You know, like I just gotta get the next issue. I just gotta get the next part. I think this was a 3-part series. I tell you what I am interested in getting is back in the late '60s. Here's one of the kids. You can make him out. After this experience, ooh, who does he look like here? But yeah, the comic I actually am interested in getting back in the late '70s. Marvel Comics did another comic featuring Alice Cooper. It was Marvel Premiere. Oh, jeepers! It's Marvel Premiere issue 50 featuring Alice Cooper, Tales from the Inside, which tied into another album that he had coming out, you know, back then or whatever. And I kind of actually do want to get that issue. I actually have come across it a few times, but every time I've seen it, it's just been more money than I'm willing to spend. So, but anyway, I guess that's it. So I hope you like this, you know, random #1 issues. I got another stack here, but I thought I'll stop right here because, you know, the video will just go on for too long. But here, tell me what you think. Tell me if you want me to do another one or something else, or maybe you're sick of seeing my ugly face and I'll just go back to putting up the static images of me yammering on top of them. All right, that's it. Thank you very much, and you all have a great day. Thanks.